Hi, it's Josh Stein with the next edition of Civics with Stein. I want to pick up where we left off last week about the Bill of Rights. In the Constitution, it doesn't say the Bill of Rights. Those are just the words we've assigned to the first 10 amendments to the Constitution. The Constitution itself provides that it can be added to in Article 5, and it says that a proposal needs to be passed by 2/3 of Congress and then ratified by 3/4 of state legislatures. And there were initially 12 amendments up for consideration in 1789, 10 of which were adopted by the states, and those are the Bill of Rights. The First Amendment, of course, freedom of speech, freedom of religion, freedom of press, freedom of assembly, petition of government. These are our core democratic liberties. It guarantees us the right to be able to think, to say, to pray without fear. The Second Amendment, the Supreme Court has interpreted to mean that every person has an individual right to bear arms. But in the Heller case, Justice Scalia also wrote that there can be reasonable limitations on that right for the public safety. The Third Amendment against the quartering of soldiers. This is the least litigated of the amendments, not surprisingly. In fact, I don't think the Supreme Court has ever had a case concerning the Third Amendment. 4 of the next 5 amendments apply to criminal matters. The founding fathers were very concerned about the power of the state ability to deprive people of their individual liberty. So the Fourth Amendment, that there has to be probable cause for the government to search somebody or to seize things. The Fifth Amendment, you have a right against self-incrimination. If you've been charged with a crime and acquitted, you cannot be charged again, double jeopardy. And if the government takes your personal property for some public use, you have to get fair compensation for that. The Sixth Amendment are the right to a speedy trial, the right to confront witnesses, the right to a lawyer. And so when you've heard about the Miranda warnings on TV cop shows, you have the right to remain silent, the Fifth Amendment, and you have the right to an attorney, the Sixth Amendment. The Seventh Amendment also gives a jury right, but this is in civil trials when the matter in controversy is in excess of $20. So anybody suing somebody over more than $20 in federal court can get a jury trial. What's interesting is this right is very rarely exercised. Something like 1% of all federal civil trials end up being a jury trial. The Eighth Amendment guarantees that the government cannot inflict cruel or unusual punishment and cannot set excessive bail. The Ninth and 10th Amendment are really process amendments, definitional amendments. The Ninth Amendment says that just the people have other fundamental rights, and just because they haven't been listed in the previous 8 doesn't mean they don't exist. And then the 10th Amendment says that any power that's articulated in the Constitution reserved for the federal government, if it isn't, then it belongs to the state or the people. So those are the first 10 amendments. One funny thing, so there are 27 amendments in total. The 27th Amendment is actually one of the first 12 amendments that was considered in this era, but wasn't passed. And it had to do with whether Congress could give themselves a pay increase. It had to go to the next Congress to get the benefit of that pay increase. And there was a college student in Texas who wrote a thesis on this and got a bad grade, and the teacher said that his interpretation was wrong, that it couldn't still be ratified. And so that fired the guy up, and he went around the country in the 80s, and a whole bunch of additional states ratified that. And that is the last amendment to the Constitution, the 27th, but it was one of the first that had been considered at our nation's founding. Thanks. Tune in next week for the next edition of Civics with Stein. Take care.